Star Wars 7x7 episode 1833 today. Shocking, but one action figure can open up a rabbit hole's worth of questions, and that's exactly what happened yesterday with the reveal of the Sith Trooper coming to San Diego Comic-Con. Let's go. Hey Rebel Rouser, I'm Alan Voivod and this is Star Wars 7x7. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode where we're going to talk about what this notion of a Sith Trooper means, because it means a lot more than just, hey, there's a new Stormtrooper on the scene for the Rise of Skywalker. Yeah, there's a lot to read into that whole situation, but first let's start with the fact that it merely exists, that this is one of the big reveals. And we've talked about what is going to happen at San Diego Comic-Con with Star Wars, or, what could happen. And one of the things that they've done in the past is costume exhibits. They did this in Anaheim, they did it in London, they did it at San Diego Comic-Con, and they're going to do it again. So they have a costume exhibit at San Diego Comic-Con planned, but it's going to be the evolution of Stormtrooper armor. And so they're going to be showing off different types of Stormtrooper armor, from Stormtroopers through Death Troopers, and Shore Troopers, and Biker Scouts, and TIE Pilots, and First Order Troopers, and First Order TIE Pilots, and all this stuff. And they're going to debut a screen-used version of the Sith Trooper armor from the Rise of Skywalker as well. Though you can already get a look at what the armor is generally going to look like based on all the products that they are releasing at San Diego Comic-Con. All these, backpacks and hats and t-shirts and tiki mugs and Funko Pops and all this stuff, as well as Black Series action figures and 1/6 sixth models as well. So, you can get a pretty good look at what this thing is going to look like already. Here's what's really important from a storytelling perspective. What is the deal with a Sith Trooper specifically, all right? So, first of all, from what we understood of not even Kylo Ren himself, but also Supreme Leader Snoke, they're not necessarily part of the Sith. They were actually just dark side Force users and not necessarily establishing any particular religion. And, certainly we didn't think that, Snoke was doing anything like that. We've never been given any impression that that was the case. And in his, final monologue with Rey, or final conversation, Ben Solo, aka Kylo Ren, says that we're supposed to let the past die and kill it if you have to, which would certainly suggest that he is not going to try to reinvent the Sith. So, why do we have a Sith Trooper then? Okay, that is where things can get really potentially interesting. So I've got a few rational reasons why we could be looking at a Sith Trooper, all right? Rational reason number one, we don't know how long it is in between the events of The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. Yes, there have been reports that say it's a year, and there have also been, panels like the Rise of Skywalker panel where they say some time has passed, but we still haven't heard an accurately sourced thing that says it's definitely 1 year. It seems like I'm still holding on to the idea that it's more. But be that as it may, the point I'm trying to make is that if time has passed and Ben, aka Kylo, has decided, maybe this Sith thing is the way to go, he certainly has the opportunity to change his mind and decide to commit himself to the Sith religion. So that's one possible explanation. Not necessarily the one I'd buy, but certainly one possible explanation. Here's another possibility for you. What if Kylo Ren, aka Ben Solo, is no longer in charge of the First Order? What if he has been knocked off his proverbial throne and is now operating as a free agent, and some other very powerful person who is a Sith adherent is in charge of the First Order? Wouldn't that be something rather ridiculous and remarkable? And corollary, sort of a 2A to this number two possibility. What if that's some variation of Emperor Palpatine, whether a clone or a reincarnation or a possession or a descendant? Heaven only knows what nonsense Palpatine might have been working on. So that kind of person potentially taking over the joint. All right, so there's your second possibility. Now, here's your third possibility. What if the First Order is not the only bad organization to have developed from the ashes of the Empire? What if there is another splinter organization that sort of went on its own evolutionary path and it ended up being headed up by some Sith adherent somewhere in the unknown regions? I mean, we don't know what the heck is going on in the unknown regions, and we've always presumed that the malevolent force that Palpatine sensed in the unknown regions was Supreme Leader Snoke, but that's never been confirmed. We don't necessarily know what it is. Maybe it was, in fact, some other very powerful Sith source, and for all we know, this is going to end up tying back to, thousands of years of Sith history. But those are just, three. And I'm sure there are many other possibilities. Would love to hear one from you. So chime in wherever you happen to catch this episode if it has a comment section or home base for the show at sw7x7.com. And after the break, we'll talk about the armor a little bit more. All right, stay tuned. This episode is brought to you by Constant Contact, the premier email marketing solution for small businesses and organizations. I've used their service since 2003, and over the past decade and a half, I've watched them evolve, make the product simpler, more powerful, easy to use, and do everything that they can to help train people to use the product more effectively and for it to work with other forms of marketing like social media, for example. So check out sw7x7.com/email to learn more about Constant Contact and start a free trial. Once again, that is sw7x7.com/email for a free trial. Welcome back. So it turns out that this Stormtrooper design, particularly the helmet design, has been leaked previously. In fact, images of it were kicking around on the internet prior to Celebration Chicago. And interestingly enough, those rumors about this and the leak surrounding it, it wasn't greeted with the level of, wow, this is really legit, as some other leaks, rumors, and spoilers are. It was basically considered a sort of iffy thing, like, I don't know if this is really a real legit accurate leak happening here. So it's kind of interesting to see it officially confirmed, to see one that had not been so certain as these things go to turn out to be really the real thing. And so far the reactions have been generally positive, I think. For me at least, I'm not a bad guy anyway, so I'm probably the wrong person to ask. And I've never been so much of a fan of your basic garden variety stormtroopers. I mean, as far as trooper design goes, I've always been much more into the biker scouts, the AT-AT drivers, the snow troopers, the shore trooper, the death trooper, the range trooper. I love the specialized designs, and for me this does not seem like a specialized design. This seems like the Sith equivalent of a stormtrooper, and so I'm hoping that there's gonna be Sith snow trooper, maybe something like that. Sith flame trooper. Gosh, it's really difficult to say these things. Any sort of specialized Sith trooper, I hope that we're going to get to see something like that. But it is kind of interesting that the one scene that we see in the Rise of Skywalker teaser, where we see something resembling troopers with, that one scene on Pisana where Poe and Finn and 3PO are running away from the First Order on those tread speeders, and possibly even jump troopers as well. They're definitely not red, so that's kind of interesting in its own right. So yeah, it's still a lot to learn, surprise, surprise, but it is rather interesting how just, one trooper reveal can suddenly raise so many questions for us to discuss. That is going to do it for today's episode of the show. Thank you so much for joining me for it, as always, and may the Force be with you wherever in the world you may be.
This podcast is not endorsed or sponsored yet by Lucasfilm Limited, Disney, or 20th Century Fox. It is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Star Wars, the Star Wars logo, all names and pictures of Star Wars characters, vehicles, and any other related Star Wars items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Lucasfilm Limited or their respective trademark and copyright holders. May the Force be with them. All original content is copyright 2019 by Star Wars 7x7. We hope you love it.